Hey everyone, my name is Olivia, and it is awesome to see you back here at our digital campus. Every week, we are bringing you another incredible message that will inspire hope in you, help unleash your full redemptive potential, and change your life. This week, Pastors Todd and Mary invited their longtime friend, Pastor Lon Williams, to be in the house. He is an energetic and gifted communicator who leads an amazing church in Liberty, Pennsylvania. Continuing off of last week's message, Pastor Lon brought the word, in the storm. Stay locked in, write some notes, and let's go.
I want to build on last week. I watched last week's sermon, and I want to build on that. I think God wanted me to do this. I argued with him for a couple days about it, but I want to talk about storms. I want to build on what Pastor Todd talked about. I want to complement that, not compete that. Storms happen to all of us, right? Right now, you're either in a storm, you're out of a storm, or you're going to be in one tomorrow or next week. And storms, isn't it funny how you guys had a storm? We name storms after people, right? You guys had a storm in Sandy, right? Remember hurricane? Listen, do you know how far back we go? Our church took a Christmas offering, our only Christmas offering, and we gave the whole thing to your church when Sandy came. We did that. To us, it was everything. To you, it wasn't that much. So, hey, some of you, it's great. I just see some fruit. It's beautiful to see that. So, I lose sleep over you guys as well. But we name storms after people, right? Can you imagine in life if we named people after our circumstances after storms? Like how meteorologists do? I mean, think about this. You tomorrow morning, you call up the boss. Hey, I can't come in tomorrow because Category 4 hangover Howard visited me, and I got a headache, and I can't do it, right? Hey, I'm not going to make this appointment. I got to cancel today because Diarrhea Diana just came blowing in. Here I am. The wind is still flying. Destruction everywhere. It's not a pretty sight. And isn't it funny how we name killer storms after people? Do you know what? I'm not a history major. My wife is a history and Bible. She's like 4.0. She's amazing. I just get my Bible and history as I'm sleeping beside her for 25 years. It just happens. So, but you can Google this. First Service checked me. They're out in the lobby. They checked it. They're like Googling it. Don't Google it now. Okay, I want you to listen here. I told them this story. They're like Googling it. Hey, listen. Do you realize that meteorologists in 1954, they used to not name storms, but in 1954 they started naming storms after people. They gave storms names. Pretty crazy to think about, really, all of that right? But meteorologists named the storms after their wives, after their girlfriends. I mean, I think... Guys, we do a lot of stupid stuff. Can you imagine if I named things after my wife? Like, hey, Dawn, if I'm a meteorologist coming home hey, Dawn, guess what? There's going to be a Category 5 hurricane coming in the Northeast. It's going to kill people, homes destroyed, businesses. I'm going to name it after you because I just thought of you. How do you like me now? Hurricane Dawn. Listen, guys, only men would make that stupid mistake. We do need help. The Bible says God, it's not good for man to be alone. But, hey, in 1979, then equal rights for equal storms came along, and they started naming storms after men as well. So that's a little history on storms and naming them, and that has nothing spiritual to that. That's simply for your edification and your fascination, and for you to show off at the water cooler tomorrow about some storm knowledge that you learned at Church Unleashed. You're going to learn lots of things here. So, but storms, right? Storms, man, they're raging. They hurt. They're real. We're not going to deny those. I mean, when it's all coming off and the wheels and the wind and it's just, I can't take no more. So many times, you know what I do? I blame God and I just holler at God and where are you and why are you allowing this and how could you? I mean, come on, I'm one of your kids. I shouldn't have to go through storms. If you get nothing out of this message, would you write this down or take a picture? Please get this. Never let the presence of a storm cause you to doubt the presence of God. So So here's what I want to do. I want to take you through a story. You can write it down, and it's about a storm. They're in a real storm on a real water in a boat, and they're throwing cargo out like they're going to die. They don't know if they're going to make it. It's in Acts chapter 27, and I'll just take you through a few verses. We'll start in verse number 20. Write this down, but it says this: when neither sun nor stars appeared for many days, the storm continued raging. We finally gave up all hope of being saved. The storm continued raging, and we gave up all hope. And that's why I say I'm proud of you. Because you come in with storms that may have been raging for a week or a month or a year or a decade, and here you are. And the storm just continues to rage, whatever it is, right? Man, the storm, it seems to be getting worse. My failing marriage is just hanging by a thread. It's just, when am I ever going to climb out of this financial mountain? This addiction, it's been with me for a decade. It seems to be not getting smaller, it's getting bigger. The monkey is growing, it's getting scarier. Am I going to be single my entire life? Come on, my biological clock is ticking. God, I need somebody to do life with. God, the storm continues to rage. We keep trying to get pregnant. We've had miscarriage after miscarriage. God's continuing to rage, and I am giving up hope. And that's why I say, great job getting here. You're in a place of hope. You're in a place to see and to receive. Next verse says this, the very next verse, verse 21. No one had eaten for a long time. And finally, Paul called the crew together and he said, men, you should have listened to me in the first place and not left Crete. You would have avoided all this damage and loss. Now, come on, put yourself in the shoes. Here's Paul. Oh, you should have listened to me. Don't you hate those people? You're like, you're in a problem. You're like, you should have listened to me. Paul's like, you should have listened to me. But it would. Paul, come on now. I just want to, come on, Paul. What? Really. Come on, Paul. Paul, they were in a storm. You know what I saw about this verse, though? They're in a storm by their own choice. They're in a storm because of someone else's decisions. Isn't it funny? I don't really come from church background, church circles. I lived like a rock and roll dude for the first couple decades. Didn't grow up in church, went to Philadelphia Veteran Stadium, Billy Graham Crusade, got saved. But before that, I was a sinner, on another level. I could have went pro. I was really good. I was spectacular at sinning. I'm not good at a lot, but I was good at sinning. Well, but what I've learned over the past couple decades of being in this church world, religious world, is that we give devil a lot of credit. We give the enemy a lot of credit. Sometimes we just look at life and we just blame everything. Oh, it's a demon, it's a spirit. We're in this circumstance. It's the devil's fault. It's the devil's fault. This demon's after me. It's the devil that's attacking me, right? This circumstance, it's the devil. We give him too much credit. In this case, this storm is a result of decisions, of choices, of people, right? Hey, listen, sometimes you're in the storm because you just made a bad choice, because maybe you're in this financial mountain because you just overspent. Right? Maybe sometimes you're in the middle of a storm because the emotions got the best of you and you said something that you shouldn't have said, and you did something you shouldn't have did. I shouldn't have. I wish I would. Hey, maybe you're in this storm because you just procrastinated, whatever that means, right? Maybe, hey, you flunked your final exam. That's not the devil's fault. You stayed up all night eating pizza, having fun with your friends. You should have been studying, but you didn't, right? It's not the devil's fault. The devil made me do it. Sometimes the storm is in your life because everybody told you not to date him, but you did. You just did, right? Your mama told you not to date him. Your dad told you not to date him. Your coach told him not to date him. Your teacher told him not to date him. Your pastor told him not to date him. Your friends told you not to date him. Your fortune cookie said, don't date him. But what was your response? Oh, he's got such a square jaw and those biceps. He just has so much potential. Yeah, potential to ruin your life. right? Potential to cause storms into your life. So sometimes the storms of life are there because we just made some wrong decisions, right? And think about this. Maybe that's why we're giving up hope. Because I got myself into this storm, therefore I know I have limited power to get me out. And I lose hope, and my focus is on me. For me, it's easier for me to believe that God will, if God got me into the storm, then God's going to get me out. It's easier for me to believe that. But if I got me in the storm, man, I got me in here. There ain't no way I can get out of here. Like, I just can't. And so we struggle. We tend to think that God's faithfulness is always based on my faithfulness. No, God is faithful even when we are faithless. He does have grace. He's the God who rescues. He's the God who gives mercy. That's what He's about, right? The good news is something we believe, not something we achieve. It's something we receive. It's something we walk in. So sometimes we just think, okay, storm might be my fault. And in this case, it was people's choices in this case, right? And the storm continued to rage, and they gave up all hope. And but think about it. In the boat, it wasn't everybody's fault. It wasn't everybody's fault. It was, Paul's like, hey, we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't go here. The co-captain's like, hey, we should go here. We should do this. Someone made some mistakes, right? Imagine the 10 or 20 or 30 people there. They're in the storm because it's somebody else's decision. Man, that's hard. Anybody in a storm or been in a storm because of somebody else's choices? Don't be pointing. Don't point. Don't be elbowing. I didn't say the person sitting next to you is your storm. I didn't say that, right? But you're in a storm. You're in a storm because somebody else chose. Listen, life happens. Storms happen. People choose. As a child, as a kid, it's not your fault that your parents divorced. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that someone in an authority figure, a leadership figure, a coach, a teacher, whoever, took advantage of you, made some wrong choices, lost trust. It's not your fault that your company made some really bad choices and now they got to downsize and you just got caught up in it. Now you're on the unemployment line. That's not your fault. Whatever the case, though, right? You're in the middle of a storm. Maybe it is your fault. Maybe it's not your fault. Here's the deal. Never let the presence of a storm doubt the presence of God, right? The very next verse, look what it says. Verse 22 says, take courage. None of you will lose your lives, even though the ship will go down. For last night, Paul says, an angel of God to whom I belong and whom I serve stood beside me. I mean, in one sense, I'm like, Paul, first of all, I just wanted to hockey punch you because you just said you shouldn't have gone out here. Now you're telling me, how cocky is this? An angel came and told me, like, go ahead, show up to work tomorrow. An angel said you should stop dating him or whatever, right? And angels, how cocky is that? But you know what that shows us? That God is working in all kind of different ways. He's working in ways that you don't know. He's got things. He's moving, right? We live by what God says, not by what we see. Someday we'll live by what we see. It'll all be by sight. But now we live by faith. And so you just don't have any idea in the storm of what God is doing. I mean, the Bible is very clear. We all have guardian angels. God appoints. He assigns guardian angels for us, right? To help deliver and carry out His will and to help protect, right? And some of you, I've been watching some of your lives, you're keeping your guardian angel busy. You're increasing the prayer life of your guardian angel. But listen, bigger than a guardian angel, bigger than the spiritual realm out there is this. God lives inside of you. If you believed on Jesus, He lives inside of you. Therefore, no matter where you go, right? It's the story of Christmas, God with us. When you show up, God just showed up. When you walk into a room, God just showed up. That's why you're a world changer. You're a difference maker, right? You're an atmosphere, you're a cultural engineer. When you show up, whether you believe it or not, God just showed up. Light just walked in the room. Salt just walked in the room. And so I want you to know that God is there. He's answering your prayers. He's working behind the scenes. He's working on this storm. He's got promises for you to claim and to receive. He is comforting you in your hurts. He really, really is. In the valley, in the mountaintop, all of that. So never let the presence of a storm cause you to doubt the presence of God.
Can we pray with you today? We genuinely care about whatever season you may be going through and want to be by your side every step of the way. The easiest way to receive prayer is by downloading our Church Unleashed app. On there, send in your prayer requests as we have a fantastic cares team waiting to stand with you in faith.
And Paul told Timothy in a different place of the Bible, we'll put it up for you, 2 Timothy 4, he's like, hey, everyone deserted me. And we've all been there. But the Lord stood at my side and He gave me strength. And hey, listen, people going to come and go. You know, you got to move the wrong days out to make room for the right days. All that. People's going to desert you, but God will never forsake you. He never will. He turned His back on Jesus, His own Son, so He'd never have to turn His back on you, right? So just hang in there. Don't give up. Psalm 16, verse number 8. I know the Lord is always with me. I will not be shaken, for He's right beside me. Listen, when you know that God is with you, when you know, your posture will change, your attitude will change, your words will change, your mindset will change. But you have to know, because this is how our lives are changed. We are transformed by the renewing of our minds, right? Christianity is a belief. It's not a behavior thing. Every behavior issue in our lives isn't a behavior, it's a belief issue. What you believe is what you become, right? So that addiction is not addiction. That's the fruit. A root is I'm not believing something properly about God or about the circumstances or about me or about His Word, right? So when you believe, when you know, you will have so much confidence. And when I was younger, like ninth grade, literally, I know this number because I know when I was ninth grade, I weighed 72 pounds. And I know that because I wrestled, and I wasn't good, obviously, but I wrestled 98 pounds. I had to get weighed every day. Now, I had a lot of stomach issues, had some operation, surgery, stunted my growth, and it wasn't until years later that I really started to put on the mass and the gains, as you can tell. This isn't really just a gift. I got to work this thing. Anyway, just kidding you. Totally kidding you. But I'm not kidding you about... Listen, my buddies, I'm from the woods. I'm from like 5 hours from here, west, in the woods. There's more deer. There's more cows. I mean, I'm leading cows and deer to Jesus than people. But that's where I've been for 24 years. This is what I've been called to do. Hey, I'm telling you, third grade, we had the Marlboro Gang. I'm not making this up. They were called the Marlboro Gang in third grade, and they were shaving. They were smoking in the third grade. I'm telling you, they were women too. Just... It's true. And I got to, go to school with all these guys, and I was like their little mascot. I was a school mascot. And my name was Scrawny Lonnie. That was it. And I could get away with anything from anybody, any teacher, any principal. That's right. I mooned the principal on graduation day. All kinds of stuff, man. I get away with anything because what are you going to do? I mean, no guy would ever beat me up because, like... What glory is that? Like, I mean, the women could beat me up, right? So what happened was, I was the spokesperson of the group at the wrestling match teams. And so one time at the county fair, literally, we're going there, and I was a self-proclaimed spokesman of the group. I'd go there, and I would just talk smack. Like, this other team wanted to, hey, you guys. And I'm telling you, we're dealing with some big farm football, wrestling. I mean, these guys are big. I'm telling you, Chris, Haas, Fabian. I'm making these names up. Bill, Bubba Dietrich. I just buried him about a year ago. These guys were massive. I mean, they were just... So these guys are starting to fight, and I'm just like, hey, guys, you guys want a piece of this, man? Hey, I'll come over there and open up a Sam's Club-sized can of whoop on you. You want some of this? Your mama wears combat boots. You're just big losers. You don't want a piece of this. You want the whole thing. Come on, you want some? They never wanted any. They didn't want any of this. Do you know why? Because of the hairy-backed giant men beside me. I'm just telling you, when you know who you're with, You will be cocky. Just telling you, ain't nobody gonna mess with me because I got dirty fingernails. I'm telling you, these guys were men in school. And now, you got to be careful. You don't want to be a spoiled, cocky, proud, God's kid brat. But you can't walk around life like this. You should put your shoulders back and your chest back. You know who you are and whose you are. I am a child of God. I'm royalty. I'm blessed. God's with me right now. He's in this. He's for me. And nothing's going to come against me. Nothing's going to overtake. I am an overcomer. All of this. I got promises to live on. And so that when you know that, you got to know it. You got to know that God is with you, right? It's another story in the New Testament. You know, Jesus, he's in the boat. Disciples are out there. Raging storm comes. What's Jesus doing? He's sawing logs. He is sleeping. He's out cold. That's what he's doing. The disciples are doing what we're doing. We're cussing at God, screaming, do you care? Hello? You're not God. You don't care. You're not big enough. This isn't fair. We're going to die. This is my end of life, all right? That's what happens. And so Jesus wakes up, and he just calmly says, you of little faith. And he says, peace, be still, and like glass. Storm over. And he was just making a point. Right? Same principle. Who's in your boat with you? Who's with you? Who's in there? Jesus is in the boat. Write this down. Real peace is not found in the absence of a storm, but in the presence of Jesus. I mean, right? Real peace, it's not about a trouble-free life. It's not about it. It's not going to happen. In fact, you know, everything is just a test. And the storm you're going through, there's going to be bigger ones coming. I know that's not, but there's a purpose behind those. And Jesus said, don't ever expect that. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Don't ever expect to be comfortable. God's goal isn't to get us comfortable, right? We grow the most when it's uncomfortable, right? You will experience trouble, but be of good courage, my child. I'm with you. I'm in you. And that same resurrection power is there. I'm never going to leave you. So now going back to the Acts story there, right? Paul's in the storm. He's got an angel standing next to them. I want you to see what happens next. Verse 24, the very next verse, Paul says, don't be afraid, for you will surely stand trial before Caesar. What's more, God in his goodness has granted safety to everyone sailing with you. In other words, you can't go down in this battle. You're not done yet. You're just not. No, I've got future things for you. Church, unleash. You're not going down in this battle. Yes, the ship may go down, but God is not done with you. If you're not dead, God's not done, right? If you've got a pulse, God still has an amazing purpose, right? You're made on purpose for a purpose. It's not cliche to say, hey, my best days are in front of me. No, they really are. You've got people to reach. I'm not done with you yet. You got influence to reach. I'm not done with you. You've got people to love. You've got, right, reached people reach. Forgiven people forgive. Right? Blessed people bless. God's got things and people. If any of your coworkers are getting reached by Jesus, it's going to be you. You're the one that's going to love on them and encourage them and bring them to church. The ship may go down, but you will not lose your life, right? You're going to win. We know what the end of the story is. In fact, you know, you think about it, we've all been through some storms, some big, tough things that we can't even really mention. And it just almost wiped us out. I mean, I lost all hope, right? But here's the deal. It isn't cliche that the mess will become a message, right? You've heard that. The test will become a testimony and all of that. Yeah. But it's true, though. The Bible says those who have received comfort will be able to give it out. You cannot give away something you haven't received. And so if you receive healing and purpose and comfort and grace from God, then you'll give it out. And so there's going to be someone who's going to go through a storm just like you did. And you're going to be able to come along and be like, hey, we went through cancer. And we're going to go through this with you. And you can beat it. We went through marriage unfaithfulness. And look at us. We went through it. We're going to show you how to do this. Hey, that addiction you're dealing with. Hey, I had raging addictions. You know what? The Jesus that set me free can set you free as well. Let's do this together, right? The financial mountain. Hey, I was there. Hey, we were bankrupt too. Hey, we started applying God's principles. God's going to do this. God wants to help us. And so you are going to be an evangelist. You're going to be a missionary for the goodness of God because of the storms, because of those. They have a purpose, right? God is preparing you for what He already has prepared for you. And it's good. It's part of your destiny, right? It's part of what He has for you. And so I know that you're going to look back in life, and you can look back in hindsight, and you can look at your life, and you can say, wow, man, what I went through was hell on earth. I don't ever want to go through it again. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But you know what? Here I am, and I'm stronger. I'm more mature. I'm humble. I'm broken. But I'm confident in what God's doing. Write this down. The pain you endure today leads to the strength that you enjoy tomorrow. There's a great purpose, and that's hard to hear. But maybe you're not going through a storm right now. Well, you need to file this message away and go look at it or share it with someone that is going through it. Last verse I'll show you in this passage, Acts 27, verse 25, says, so take courage. So take courage, for I have faith in God that will happen just as He said. Say it with me. Say, take courage. Have faith in God. It will happen. One more time. Take courage. I have faith in God. It will happen just as He said. Right. So what you're seeing is not the end of the story. There's more. I'm going to live by what God says, not by what I feel, not even by what I think, not by what... No, listen, my faith is not going to be in the boat. My faith is going to be in the God who's bigger than the boat. My faith is not going to be in the materials that built the boat. My faith is going to be in the God who made the trees that built the boat, right? So you know, God is doing great things. I know that most of the time we can't really control, when a storm comes and how long and the severity and the elements. If it's, sometimes if it's our fault and it can end. But what can you? You can't control what people say to you. You can't control what people do to you. You can't control how people judge you, how you're going through the storm. You can't control other people. They're going to say, well, blah, blah, blah. They're going to say all kind of things, right? So I just saw a message here. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, he took it away. Says you're doing amazing, Pastor. That's amazing. They were encouraging me. It was good. Hey, last verse I want to show you. Psalm 46, verse number 1. God, it's one of my favorite verses. God's our refuge and our strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. So I will not be afraid when these big old honking storms come, earthquakes, right? This is a great life verse. You should know this verse. Psalm 46, verse number 1. God is always ready to help. He's always ready to help. And I really think you could rewrite that verse to say, hey, I will not be afraid. Why will I not be afraid when earthquakes come? I will not be afraid when the economy is just, I will not be afraid when I get the doctor's report. I will not be afraid that my child is out there. I will not be afraid at what I'm seeing. I will not be afraid. Why? Because God is my provider. My employer is not my provider. God's my provider, right? Out of His glorious riches, God is my strength. God is my healer. Not medicine, not a doctor. God used those, but God is my healer. God is my source. God is my protector. God is my deliverer, right? God is my righteousness, and God is my wisdom, and God is my comfort. God is my strength, right? God's my purpose. See, He is all these things, and He takes those very personally. Nobody and nothing else can do those and provide those for you, right? He is all of that. He's my peace. He's my joy, which is my strength. This storm will not take you out. Yeah, the ship may go down. It may not work out how I think, but I still I may come out of this looking like a drowned weasel, right? Dripping wet, like, whoa, what just hit me? But you will have a confidence. God is there. He is with you. I want to just hang with me for just a couple minutes. If you're sleeping, I need you to wake up. I want you to think about Elijah. Elijah, I like the prophets. Elijah, I mean, he saw some cray miracles. I mean, Elijah, he raised a dead boy to life. He made it stop raining. I mean, he just annihilated. He called down fire from heaven, the prophets of God. I mean, demons. He beat the enemy's butt like none of us. I mean, you talk about, wow, seeing what God could do and what he did do. Think about it. But the king's wife, Jezebel, says a couple bad things to him, and he just runs. It was bad. She's like, I want to kill you. But at the same time, he ran. He was a big old scaredy cat after doing all of this. And I understand an angry woman is a powerful being. I get that. I'm not going to judge him for that. But his life is in danger. And he is hiding out. He's needing God. The storm is raging. He really is fighting for his life. Many of us have not been there. He doesn't know if he's going to make it till tomorrow. I mean, someone has a ransom, a sentence on your life. He needs God's voice. He needs his power. He needs reassurance. He needs hope. And so God comes to him and says, Elijah, I want you to meet me here. And he's like, yes. Can you imagine? God's like, I'm going to meet you here, and we're going to talk, and I'm going to show you my power. I'm going to reveal myself to you. And you're just like, yes, God, I need this so badly. God, yes. And watch what happens. I want to read this to you. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 11. Go out and stand before me on the mountain, the Lord told him. And as Elijah stood there, the Lord passed by, and a mighty windstorm hit the mountain. It was such a terrible blast that the rocks were torn loose. But the Lord was not in the wind. In the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, there was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, there was a sound of a gentle whisper. The earth, the wind, and the fire, which is an amazing title of a band. If you're starting a band, that'd be a great name. Give me some credit if you start a band like that. God was not in the remarkable. He was in the ordinary. He wasn't in the loud. He was in the quiet. He wasn't in what I was expecting. He was in, he was in the gentle whisper. Are you kidding me? Church Unleashed, think about it. When the storms are raging, shrapnel's flying. It is nasty. You're hanging on to hope. You don't even know what's going to happen in this storm. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen with your child or the marriage or you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen in the fight. You don't know. But it's all hitting the fan. And it's loud. And you can't hear anything. And you're screaming and you're just crying and you're weeping. And God, where are you? Why are you so quiet? God, I don't understand. I need you now. I need your voice. I need your power. I'm really reaching out to you. Why? All 19 wheels of my 18-wheeler is off. They're gone. My life is just a mess right now. It seems like a train wreck. I'm in the ditch. I can't pull it out. God, I can't. Where are you? Why are you so quiet, God? I'm going to tell you why he's so quiet. God whispers because he's close. He whispers because he's close. He whispers because he's near. He whispers so that we lean in. He whispers to get our attention. So we go like this. And he says, you're my son. You're my child. I love you. I've been with you every second of every day. When it's raging, I'm here. I'm right here. I will never leave you. I'll never forsake you. I care about your life more than you. I care about your marriage more than you. I care about that addiction more than you. I killed my own son so you could live. I love you. I whisper because I'm close. Just pause. Just pause. Because the enemy shouts lies, but I whisper truth. I give you a hug. I hold you right here. Nothing can happen to you. I got you. Let's pray together.
Never let the presence of a storm cause you to doubt the presence of God. Real peace is not found in the absence of a storm, but in the presence of Jesus. We were so honored to have Pastor Lon with us this weekend and so grateful to Pastors Todd and Mary, always bringing us nothing short of the best. Again, we are so glad that you joined us today. If you've missed one, we always have more sermons that you can check out on our app. We'll see you next time at Church Unleashed, where we inspire hope, unleash potential, and change lives.